your general take on where the Yankees are at right now, but since we're a national show, really global, where is the AL East at right now?
Well, the Yankees are stumbling, obviously. The AL East is tightening. So the Red Sox back to about 500. The Rays right on our heels. Orioles don't have to worry about them. We got the Blue Jays coming up. So that'll be an interesting series. The Yankees play in Toronto beginning next Monday. So that'll be an interesting series. They have not played well against the American League East in general, and over their last 11 games, they've played really bad. We had some guys that looked like they were heating up a couple of weeks ago when we played the Royals. Austin Wells looked like he was getting ready to go on his, summer hit barrage, but he was hot for about as long as my coffee this morning, about 5 minutes. And he's cooled off. We got a lot of bats cooling off, and it's been a rough week, and the fans are feeling the angst.
Derek, I just want to know this. It's such a typical Yankee fan like you are to mention the Red Sox first and not even bring up the Rays or the Jays. The Rays are a game back, and the Yankees suck in extra innings. So God forbid if they go into extra innings, because they are terrible in extra innings. But typical Yankees fan, oh, the Red Sox, they're not doing anything. But the Rays and Jays are bringing it, and especially the Rays. The Rays are the hottest team going. Are you worried?
I mean, it's hard not to be worried. We've seen a 5.5 game lead shrink to 1 game over the past, week or so. We've seen them flush leads in June and July in recent years. The Rays winning the division and playing in our minor league park would really, really upset a lot of people for some reason, I think. Look, the Yankees have just got to play better. If they can just play better, I think they can hold off these teams. But you've got some guys that have really cooled off. Paul Goldschmidt, over his last 30 games, is hitting .204. Anthony Volpe, over his last 10 games, is hitting .118. Judge, over his last 10 games, hitting .222 with just 2 home runs and 2 RBIs. Dominguez, hitting .176 against lefties this year. Austin Wells, over the last 10 games, hitting .152. You can't have all of your big bats cold at the same time. We were hoping that when Stanton came back, maybe he would be hot. He's hit some singles, a couple of doubles, but he hasn't started leaving the ballpark yet. Ben Rice looks like he's coming out of it. He had home runs. He had a home run this weekend, and then he hit one yesterday that almost left the Great American Ballpark. So there's some promising signs, but you just gotta put it all together for a little while. The pitching has been really good, so that's one good sign. Rodon again last night was terrific. We got Max Fried going today. He's been terrific all year, but you got to support these guys with some runs.
Derek, what's up, man? Nice to meet you, bud. You just kind of touched on it. Yankees have, struggled in some summers in the past seasons, and here we go into a July where it's like only playoff teams coming up on the schedule. And you think about the Yankees when I was playing them, and they just kind of like muscle their way through stretches like this. I feel like because the roster and the team kind of is what it is, and I just wonder, as you head into a stretch like this and into the All-Star break, like what are some of the things they can do within the cracks or going into this kind of stretch to right the ship a little bit?
Well, as AJ mentioned, and it's nice to meet you too, Ross, they're really bad in extra innings. And I think that goes to the approach in general of being a slugging team. They don't move runners over. A lot of times you start with the Manfred runner in extra innings and you don't move them over. And I think just the little things like that add up. There's been some bullpen meltdowns. It seems like, we used to have this thing where every night a different hero would step up, right? Well, it seems like every night a different guy in the bullpen has a tough night. And, guys like Loaizaga, who have been injured, but, coming back, he's going to have to step up. We got Luke Weaver back in there now, so maybe he can get hot again. He was not exactly inspiring in his first outing, but he pitched a little bit better last night. I just think you got to get better in the margins. And again, Aaron Judge needs to get hot. When this team is hot, it's because Aaron Judge is hitting. He's slipped over the last couple of weeks. And, when the best hitter in baseball goes down for a while, other guys have to step up, and they have not. They have not.
Derek, I want to ask you, you mentioned a lot of these guys, and Austin Wells, 708 OPS, Volpe, 729, Bellinger, 767. They're okay OPS-wise, but what are Yankee fans feeling about these guys? Because like you mentioned, it's a lot of their OPS. I mean, because then you go batting average, Austin Wells 216, Volpe 233. So a lot of their OPS is hitting for home runs. Are they an only home run hitting team? Is there a way to improve what they're doing? And are Yankee fans satisfied with what the lineup is doing?
Well, this is what we've been saying for the last decade or more. This Yankees approach, right? It's fruit from the poisonous tree, right? The things they teach in this organization is to just hunt fastballs and hit long balls, right? Draw walks, hit home runs. But you've got to play baseball too. There's one guy who I think plays decent baseball that you mentioned, and that is Cody Bellinger. I feel like his OPS is better than than it looks, because a lot of it is like doubles and stuff. Like, Volpe's OPS is held up by hitting 9 home runs in the first couple of months, and Jazz Chisholm's OPS is held up by hitting home runs early on. They don't get a lot of hits, right? They don't hit with runners in scoring position. They don't hit a lot of doubles. I don't have the stats in front of me. I mean, maybe they've compiled numbers, but it seems like they go long stretches without productive at bats. I think it was John Boy pointed out they have more big innings than almost any team, but then they have a lot of innings where they don't score because they're, to quote one of the guys, I think it was, I can't remember his name, the guy from the baseball documentary, Ken Burns documentary, said the strategy is to put 2 guys on and then have Godzilla hit one into Tokyo Bay. That seems to be the Yankees' approach for the better part of a decade right now. It's failed in the playoffs. It always fails at some point for a long stretch during the summer. And their hope is that they can just get to the playoffs and 1 or 2 guys get hot, like Stanton last year, and you slug your way to the World Series, and maybe you build a really good pitching staff that can stay healthier than a lot of other teams can afford to keep a staff. So that seems to be the approach. Right now, it's frustrating because they're just not putting up runs. And when you see a team that has $300 million payroll that's scoring 1 run night after night, it's just incredibly infuriating as a fan.
Well, if you're a normal human, you can't speak English to your pup. But what you can do to understand what they love, which is Spot and Tango Unkibble, is to see how they react when you put the Unkibble in the bowl. And my pup, Penelope, loves it. So does Bella.
Well, Bella speaks Spanish, so she says, muy bien. I love this stuff.
She says, wow, Dad, thanks for creating a custom plan based on my age, weight, breed, and activity level. You nailed it. And also, it's made with 100% whole fresh ingredients like real USDA meats, fruits, and veggies, but it's 40% less expensive than frozen food. So upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble. And for a limited time, go to spotandtango.com/foul and use code FOUL for 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul, code FOUL to get 50% off your first order.
Derek, where are the fans at on Jazz Chisholm? Last night, he gets ejected in an extra inning game, 2-0 pitch, borderline. He won't let it go. And what was interesting to me is if you watch the broadcast, he was kind of yelling, and Boone and Brad Ausmus and the rest of the team wasn't really like, I don't want to say they weren't standing up for him, but they weren't telling him to quiet down either, right? They were just kind of letting him have, and then he gets ejected. It leads to Escara having to play third base. Not that it ended up hurting him, but you know what I'm saying. Like, where are the Yankee fans at with Jazz Chisholm? It could have, but it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that you bring this up because we had some calls about this last night on the show. A lot of people felt like it was an incredibly immature thing to just let it drag on. Yeah, calls get blown, right? I mean, how many calls get overturned every single day, and how many umps miss calls in big spots? It's part of the game, right? I mean, sometimes you're going to have calls that don't go your way, especially in a tight game. You've got to just put that in your pocket, set it aside, and get to work. And we hear a lot about how New York fans are, knowledgeable about baseball and things like that. And this is one of the spots where it shows up for me because I feel like instead of calling in and being pissed at the ump for blowing the call, people were calling in. They were pissed at Jazz for putting the team in a difficult spot. Now, like you said, thankfully it didn't end up hurting the team. But I mean, who knows what could have happened? I mean, the game could play out any number of different ways if you don't, in any number of scenarios, if he doesn't get ejected. So, it was, in my opinion, a bad case of judgment to let it keep going. And you mentioned Boone and the coaches not standing up for Jazz, but also not quieting him down. I think you got to step in right there when you see, hey, this is a tight game. Jazz is really ticked off. Let's settle him down. Let's say, hey, go to your happy place for a second, right? And then to borrow a Happy Gilmore parlance, go to your happy place, settle it down, and go get him. Be pissed after the game. Maybe maybe you can, say something to the reporters after the game, let them know you're unhappy. But right now is not the time.
Last question here. Probably no one more excited to see out of the division Rafael Devers than Garrett Cole. I don't know if he was public enemy number one for the Yankees fans, but certainly for Garrett Cole. But now that Devers is out of the division, who are Yankees fans claiming public enemy number one, got their sights on?
I tell you what, Jackson Holiday looks like he's coming around. He's going to be a problem for years and years. Caminero could be a real problem for a while. Roman Anthony, I saw his 500-foot home run in the minor leagues. I watched his first major league home run. I haven't seen a lot of him other than that, but he's going to be good. I don't think we've identified public enemy number one. Right now, it might honestly be Aaron Boone. It might whether it's deserved or not. I feel like that's the way the papers are going. But I think that's to be determined. But it is nice to see Rafi out on the West Coast, and I hope he has a really nice long career very far away from Gary.
There you go. Nice trade by Boston. Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, you mentioned Booney. Is Volpe the guy you're hearing the most complaints about on the roster?
On him. Yeah, fans are tough on him right now. And look, he's 24 years old, so I try not to be too tough on him. He's got room to improve, and I don't think he's done improving. As Boone always says, improvement is not linear for young players. You'll see him go through spurts where he looks really good. He makes an adjustment, and then things kind of settle back in, and he goes through a long stretch. I wish he wasn't quite so streaky. I feel like he's struggled more defensively this year than we've seen him struggle, especially in big spots. That's been a concern. And you're starting to hear more whispers about, maybe we should trade Volpe. Maybe we should get another shortstop. And I just keep saying, who's out there that's better? I mean, there's nobody available that's good, that's better or cheaper than Volpe right now. You got Lombard coming up, but he's hitting 220 in Double-A, so he's no threat to Volpe right now. So I think you just stick with him. I think that the strategy for fans should be to cheer him on, get a little bit of our Trey Turner vibes, give the kid a nice ovation, really get behind him, show him some of that love that we showed him when he first came up. And maybe he'll get back to being that player that we saw in the first part of last year when he got on base for 34 straight games and was doing such a great job in front of Soto and Judge to set the table. But since then, he's kind of been up and down.
I agree. I'm with you. I mean, he's definitely, at least average, if not above average. He's not a superstar. And I think some Yanks fans were looking at him, as their top prospect, thinking this guy's going to be a superstar. Well, he's not a superstar.
Sinatra doesn't say he wants to be middle of the heap or, middle of the pack, right? We want to be number one, top of the list, right? That's what we're trained to expect as fans.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.